You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, more than 4,000 or 40,000 children are at the risk of dying in the Northeast, according to the World Health Organization.
Now, this is due to the combined threat of acute malnutrition and medical complications. The WHO added that malaria, acute respiratory infections, and diarrhea are the leading causes of illness among internally displaced persons, especially women and children, along with high level of acute malnutrition. Joining me now is Taiwo Akinlami. He's a social development lawyer and an expert interested in securing a safe environment for children. It's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Happy Children's Day.
Same to you.
All right, about 40,000 Nigerian children in the Northeast are at risk of death as a result of malnutrition. What do you think?
Well, I've gone through the WHO report, and it is very, very sad that we are in a situation where these children are displaced. They are not growing up within a proper environment, safe environment. Then now, the least they can demand for is to be properly fed. I think I've been on this program before. We were looking at this same subject matter, I think 1 or 2 years ago. But report now says that the situation is even worse than it was then. And so I think we need to call on regulatory bodies that are responsible to do the needful, to stop this scourge. We should stop starving our future. These children represent our future. And if we think that they are the children of the Oipoloi, the house of wood and the drawers of water, now the children we train and we protect are going to interact with the children who are starved and malnourished. If, for whatever reason, they come out of that situation, they are not going to have any form of commitment or any form of attachment to a society that has not taken time, to take responsibility for their protection and their proper development.
Right. As it is today, there is that issue of insecurity in the Northeast.
Yes. And
as you also mentioned, these are IDPs who are not exactly even growing up in the general society,
yes,
but they're in a secluded environment,
yeah,
where they are being taken care, yeah, of by the government and other spirited individuals. So what do you think should be the attitude now of their parents and guardians in those places?
Well, those parents and guardians are themselves victims. They are displaced by the operations of Boko Haram, and this insurgency has been on for a very long time. It appears that we keep talking about it and nothing concrete has been done. So what I think is, the state government, the local government, the federal government need to come together for the purpose of deciding a way forward.
Yeah, but if you look at it, at different times, governments have budgets to take, yes, care of IDPs, both, yes, at the federal level, at the state level, and yes, even at the local government level. So what are we not doing right?
The question is, where does the budget go? It's not enough to budget. It's also very, very important to see that the money is properly spent. Who follows the money? Who follows the money? Who follows the budgeted money? Those are fundamental issues that is important for us to consider. When you budget, you must make it a point of duty to ensure that what you budgeted for, the money is properly expended. When the money is not properly expended, it's misappropriation. So the question is, if we keep budgeting and we're not seeing a difference, it's high time we began to take another look at the whole budgeting system, the whole idea of monitoring the budget to ensure, and I think the media has a major role to play, NGOs have a major role to play to ensure that budget monies are not only budgeted, but they are followed to the letter to see that the money is properly expended for the purpose for which they are budgeted.
Well, and that's where there's attention being drawn to it now. Taiwo Akinlami, it's good to have you join us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And
yes,
apart from what you have been saying, there has been other government organizations, non-governmental organizations, international agencies, individuals, churches, mosques, and all of that also lending their voices. How much of impact is this having that we have the report by WHO saying about over 40,000 children are at risk of malnutrition, okay, acute malnutrition? Well,
in 2015, I think we're on this subject matter 2015, 2016. Now, so I want to combine the WHO report with the UNICEF report that now says that the situation about malnutrition of our children, of our precious children in the Northeast, is worse than it was in 2015 now. Now, there are efforts. Maybe it will have been worse, But maybe these efforts had also helped the situation. But the question is, there's no child that lives in proxy for another. Every child deserves to be protected. Every child deserves to be properly fed. Now, when people are not living within the safe environment of their homes, these are people displaced by insurgency. And now, in where they are, the best we can do for them is to ensure that they are properly fed. The best we can do for them is to ensure that they are safe. The best we can do for them is to ensure that their parents are in a good state of mind, knowing that their children are well taken care of.
All right. Has there been enough justification for all of the donations we're receiving from all parts of the world, from individuals, from even from government, from mosques and Muslim organizations, from church organizations and all of that? Remember recently the president gave an order that all rice and all of those edibles seized from smugglers should be sent to the people who are displaced.
You know, one of the things we also found was that the things that were meant for IDP camps were being diverted. You know, that has been in the public domain for a while now. The question is not about, provisions. The issue is, does the provision get to the final destination? If all the provision, because we looked at the statistics of the contributions that is being made, we look at good-spirited Nigerians that have continued to make contribution. If all of these are diverted, are targeted at the destination, and they get to these children, I don't think we'll be discussing what we are discussing now. The fundamental issue, therefore, what kind of policing is going on? If there's budgetary allocation, who is following the money to ensure that the money gets to the final destination? I think these are fundamental issues that we need to begin to pay attention to, we need to call attention to.
Well, what do you think should change about how, because all of these donations from all over the world, even from within Nigeria and other countries and organizations, towards the same people, just a few million people, and we have containers and containers.
Yes.
What should really change about how to coordinate this so that
I think what
people
needs
can
to
get
change
what they are deserving?
is when it's time you need result, you must be thinking about a system that pays attention to monitoring and evaluation. Who is responsible for that? Who is taking charge of that? Now, if government
isn't NEMA in charge of all of that?
Well, NEMA will tell you they're in charge of emergency and the rest of that. But when it comes to issue of nutrition and all of that, when it comes to do with children, I think Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Women Affairs and Social Development, maybe at the state level,
of Health.
Ministry of Health, at the state level, Ministry of Women Affairs, and I don't know what name they call the ministry in Yobe, in Adamawa, in Borno, where this matter is more perennial. Then you now look at, so all of these line ministries, there has to be a commitment on their part, not only to receive donations, but to ensure that the donation gets to the final destination. That is very key. All right.
We reports we have in the 2019 budget, we have about 45 billion naira that has been earmarked by the president for Northeast Intervention Fund. We also have another 10 billion naira for the takeoff of the Northeast Development Commission. We hope that all of these translate to a change for the children.
We hope so. We do really hope so. But budgeting is not enough. Monitoring the budget
is something
critical.
else. It's key.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Tawan Kilami, for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
In your quest to achieve a safe environment for children, what perceptions, what receptions have you received from the society?
Well, I think that now matter that has to do with children are coming to the front burner of public discourse. I think that's a whole level of achievement that is in the front burner of conversation. And how disturbing is it to you that about 40,000 of these children, those of them in the Northeast, in the IDP camps, are at risk of dying? That's as a result of acute malnutrition. Well, it's extremely sad. It's very, very, it's something that is extremely unacceptable. We cannot accept a situation where a nation watches our children die. And it is sad that it is WHO that is calling attention to this kind of development. In 2015, there was an outcry on malnutrition. When you look at between the UNICEF report, recent UNICEF report on the Northeast, and you look at the present report of WHO, between those two reports, it is clear that the situation in 2015 is worse than the situation now.
And could even get worse if we do not take
and get worse if we don't
steps.
do anything about it.
So what things now are we meant to do as a people?
Well, I think what we need to do as a people is first to recognize the role that children play as a pivotal link between today and tomorrow, to recognize that a nation that starves its children is starving its future. And again, that will now mean that there has to be a whole level of accountability. We hear about budgetary allocations. We hear about donations by good-spirited Nigerians. We hear about donations by NGOs. Where does the food go? Where does the money go? That is one thing we need to pay attention to. Who is following the money? And if this money is being misappropriated, if this money is being misappropriated, who is being brought to book? Those are fundamental issues, and those are questions we need to bring to the front burner of public discourse when it comes to this matter. UNICEF is contributing, WHO is contributing, well-meaning Nigerians are contributing, NGOs are doing their bit. Who diverts the money? Who diverts the food?
Okay,
where does it go? Who are being brought to book?
There are those who believe that regardless of the effort put in, so far these people are still in IDP camps, which is a temporary place of shelter for them. Yeah. The situation might just continue until they're able to be in their homes with their families and living together.
That's a very valid point. So the temporary situation, the temporary solution is to hold regulatory bodies and line ministries accountable. And the permanent solution, the long-term solution, is to ensure that these people are returned home. They are resettled in their homes. Now, but to do that also, we have to solve the problem of insecurity, because the reason in the first instance why they have to flee their homes is because of insecurity. So I think that in the long term, looking for solution in the long term, we have to begin to think about how do we return those people. But in the interim, while they are where they are, how do we ensure there's accountability? Everything that is given to them, how do we ensure that it gets to the final destination so that the problem of malnutrition can be solved, and so that this information that is coming to us from WHO can become useful. Because if these children still end up dying, it means this information is useless. We have not been able to capitalize on that to do something meaningful for the restoration of the health and the soul of these children.
All right, Taiwo Akinlami, it's so good to have you join us. We hope for a greater tomorrow.
Thank you very much.